Hi friends, Ryan Heller coming at you today to answer a few more questions about the virtual performance of Return to Me. If you haven't yet done so, be certain to watch Keiji's sectional video and his performance tips. There's a lot of wonderful information covered in there that is guaranteed to enhance and elevate your own personal performance. So a few things generally about this piece. The first very common question that I get asked about this is, how do we approach the diction? Well, we're singing in American English in a pop idiom, so we want to hear American R's, we want to hear percussive tease. All right, we don't want to hear like a flipped or rolled "return to me." If you are, chorally trained and have your good Italian vowels and Italianate approach to consonants, get rid of that stuff. The other thing is a consonant sound like M. It needs to have presence so we actually understand it. To me, me. Don't be afraid to let it buzz. In terms of a sustained vowel, the sound of turn, return to me, we actually can think of it like urge or church or world. Don't go to the R sound, but do think of it being included, as opposed to the classical choral world where we might say return to and make it more of a schwa. Lean into the American idiomatic pronunciation of it. Also, we want to hear your open, free sound. So don't sing constricted, sing as beautifully open and free as you possibly can. As Keiji points out, there are certainly opportunities in this for voices to have belting moments. If that's something you're comfortable doing, please do. If not, however, realize you don't need to. If that's not something that's in your vocal toolbox, just continue to sing however is best and freest and healthiest for you. All right? A couple of intonation traps in this piece, being in the key of D flat major. We typically don't sing E flat high enough, that's scale degree 2 or Re, and we also don't sing C high enough, scale degree 7 or T. If you see those notes in your part, be aware that this are going to need a bit more attention to tune on the high and bright side. All right, and then lastly, in terms of generalities, for your personal practice of this piece, I always like to suggest breaking it into its composite pieces. So go from the opening to letter B, and then take B to C, C to D, D to E, and E to the end. Break them into those pieces so you can really feel comfortable with each section, and then start zooming out and putting it all together. Remember, your success really lies in your preparation, so that when you come time to record and perform, you're not worried about any particular spot and you know it so well that it's virtually memorized, all right? Now, a few more specific things when we actually approach the score. Here at the opening, we want to be certain to take a unified breath in measure 20 after that downbeat before do, do. All right, you'll hear that demonstrated on Keiji's recordings, but let's all be certain to have that lift unified. Looking ahead, if we look to page 3, as we enter in measure 29, we want to start this soft but clear. Be certain that your tone doesn't get breathy. Keep it a nice, clear, soft. And altos, return, return to me, this low A flat, B flat sequence in here. Your first syllable can really be return to me. Anytime it's longer than that, really for everybody. If it's a quarter note, if it's a half note, return to, or return to me, return to. We have more opportunity for an E vowel. But otherwise, return to me makes a whole lot of sense. All right? In measure 36, which is the final bar of page 3, we've just had this build up, return to me and everything. So we want to be certain that we all have that lift on the second strong beat so that we are out of the way of the pickup and everything I tell you into letter B. All right, at letter B, there are a couple of things to note. Here for the basses, Keiji even says this in the sectional, but to reiterate, the syllable doom, D-O-O-M, really think of it as D apostrophe M. We don't need to hear any sustained vowel in that, just dum, da-dum. Go right to that buzzy M sound, all right? Looking ahead, when you get to measure 40, for example, the DP, I always get asked about this, what should that be? Doom, doom, dip, doom, dip, doom. Let it intentionally stop and shorten that quarter note so that the P interrupts the flow of the line. All right, at letter B, and for the entire sequence until measure 51, 52 for the cadence at the end of this section, it's really easy to rush this rhythm. Everything I tell you has been spoken. Right, feel it laid back. If you can really pay attention to everything I tell you has been, pay attention to 2 and 4 instead of just 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Okay, those of us who live on the downbeat are going to be more apt to want to rush through here. When we sustain spoken in measure 39, let's be certain to use a nice vowel for that. Spoken, spoken, instead of spoken. Not a dull schwa, but a nice bright vowel. All right? And then sopranos and tenors, if you look at measure 46 and in measure 50 in this section, as you know, the lyric continues in the alto, and we have the syncopation for our next entrance. So, everything I feel, first time. If you can audiate the altos, feel is for the first, so that your next entrance is right with them, that will help. And same thing for measure 50, feel, I feel. Right? They sing I, and then we come back on feel. That's a bit easier since it's on the second strong beat. But really be aware of the alto part through there. Looking ahead to letter C now. Basses, as you sing your figure, as Keiji points out in the sectional, again, the rhythmic drive of it is the feature we want to hear. Doom, doom, de dip, doom, de doom. So don't be afraid to even think a little more percussive D. A bit of T can be behind there to really bring it out. All right? When we look at measure 55 sopranos, your divided part here, right? The do-do, 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 do-wah in the second soprano part. We want to be certain that we hear the N, do-do, do-do, right? But again, not rushing ahead. Let these eighth notes, do-do, do-do, do-do. They have a really laid-back kind of quality to them. All right? And then the last thing here at letter C, altos and tenors, you have the great ooh-whoa, 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 ooh-whoa figure. And if you've worked with me, you've heard me talk about going from a closed vowel to an open vowel as being what I call a down boy moment, right? The sound can intentionally pop. But here, that's what we want. We want that O to pop. Ooh-whoa, 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 ooh-whoa. All right, don't be afraid of that effect. Really lean into it. And this is a spot, as Keiji mentions in the alto and tenor sectionals, that if you have a belty tendency, you can lean into it here. All right? Looking ahead now to letter D, this wonderful build that happens, right? Again, as we start soft, don't be afraid to start clear. We want to hear clarity in that sound so it doesn't get fuzzy, all right? Altos, as you sing, return to me, return to me. All of those sustained notes can have a bit of life. That's just a tiny crescendo going through them, so we're feeding them energy, all right? And that's true of the other parts as they layer in. As you sustain, don't be afraid to really commit more musical energy to it, all right? The other parts to really note here, second tenor, your half notes, be very steady. Turn, re, so that they're like a drum beat in there. And again, don't be afraid of the T sound. So we hear all of the percussiveness of these T's that happen at different times. It creates a wonderful effect through here, all right? And baritones, this will be a spot to really pay attention to rhythm on. Me, return to me, return to me. Right, there's a lot of offbeat syncopations here. So don't be afraid to spend some time really drilling that rhythm. Also, Keiji points out in the sectional, don't be afraid to phrase every single one of those. You can breathe each one of those statements. All right, and then finally, as we get to the fourth ending, and we're all unfurled going into that forte, as we breathe, take a forte breath. So as we pick up letter E, we're continuing the energy from what we have just built. We really want it to feel like it's unleashed at letter E. I am here. So that's the kind of point of arrival of everything we've built up at letter D. All right, when we look at letter C and letter E basses, you'll see that pattern is the same. You've sung the music at letter E before, at letter C. So you know this pattern, and again, you're driving the rhythmic force of this. Altos, this is another spot that you can sing with a more low quality if you have a comfortable belt here. Again, this is a spot that you can really lean into that. Notice that we stay up dynamically through measure 87, and then 80 and 89 have a very fast diminuendo down. All right, so be committed to that really open, unfurled sound and big dynamic energy all the way through 87. Some of these phrases are a bit long. Don't be afraid to put a personal sneak breath in as you need to really stay as vocally healthy as possible. All right, and then on this final page, the only things I want to notice that are we, as we diminuendo and we bring this dynamic back down, that again we come to a clarity of sound, altos especially for 91, return to me, for that return to me reappearance, all right? And then basses, as you bring your final cadence in 95, 96, 97, ooh, so we don't get ooh, no extra fuzz in that sound, all right? 96 to 97, which is right there at the end, try not to breathe. So we have a continuation of the harmony underneath the solo line. One continuous sound would be lovely. All right, basses you can certainly breathe, however, at the end of 94 before the C flat. All right, and that is everything, my friends. So as with all of these virtual performances, remember to take the time to be prepared, take the time to warm up when it comes time to record, so that when you are doing your takes, you can be as free and healthy as possible. And remember, multiple takes are particularly normal in these events. So if you need to do 5 or 6 recordings, don't think that you're doing something wrong. If you do more than that, same thing holds true, right? We want you to be bringing your beautiful energy to this performance and really shining your light through the entire song. So thank you for letting me share the experience with you, and thank you for sharing the gift of your beautiful voice and energy with us and with the world. Happy return to me, my friends. Take care.